Hey, it's me, Smile McGee, and I actually lied because today is Rare Disease Day. But in true Rare Disease style, I had a rheumatology appointment. This next video sharing a rare story is from Kelsey. She is an extraordinary 29-year-old with 2 kids who has been married for 4 years. And in this video, she shares her journey with rare disease and the diagnosis process. And I think it's a story we all can relate to. I think we've all been there. Heck, I'm still currently there, where you're trying to find a diagnosis, trying to find answers, trying to find the cause to this pain. And Kelsey's story is one that really needs to be shared, especially about how we need to be our own advocate in this journey. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for sharing your amazing story with me and just being such an incredible individual. We've gotten to know each other through Smile McGee, and I just truly think the world of ya. Here is Kelsey's video.
So I'm not really sure what I'm doing, so you can edit out whatever you feel like you need to, but I will try and share what I can, share my story a little bit. I don't have, per se, any rare diseases, like unicorn rare, but I do have some pretty significant chronic illnesses that factor into each other and make life pretty difficult, and some of these illnesses are only a recent diagnosis, some are a recent confirmation of a suspicion, and others I've just been dealing with for a long time. And it all started when I was about 14, so it's been almost 16 years. I started developing ovarian cysts, and I had one that grew to the size of a racquetball and was causing me significant and excruciating pain. And I dealt with them off and on after that, and after having 2 children, they finally confirmed that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and so my 2 little children are a miracle because of the scarring and the fibroids that I have all over my uterus. Should have made it impossible for me to even get pregnant. That was my first chronic condition that I started dealing with, and that has been the longest one. But shortly after that, with full force of puberty and everything, and the irregular rarity of a cycle because of my PCOS, when I was about 15, 16, I started noticing that I was getting really, really bad headaches, and they were debilitating. I could hardly function in school or participate in my social activities, but I would just push through and do the best that I could. And when I went off to college the first time, I was going to a doctor because they were getting really bad, and he explained to me that I actually was suffering from chronic migraine and had been for almost 4 years at this point. And I actually suffer from a couple different types of chronic migraine. I have cluster migraines, I get tension migraines, I can get sinus migraines, and I can get compound complex migraines, which is when I'm having multiple types at the same time. And I often have times where I am completely debilitated and bedridden from them. Can't move, can't function, can't do anything. And I found out about a year ago that I'm actually genetically predisposed to it. My father suffers from very severe headaches, and I also suffer from consistent daily headaches, but I also get really bad migraines. And when I was at my worst with my chronic migraines, I was having 2 to 3 a week, and they could last sometimes upwards of 48 to 96 hours at a time. I have a couple of rescue medications that I can take for them that seem to help, but they aren't a fix-all. I have tried dozens and dozens of different types of medications and therapies, diet control, but because I have so many different types, they're really hard to treat and they're really hard to fix. And just to kind of go in conjunction with the chronic migraine is another diagnosis that I found out about recently. A little over a year ago, I had what seemed like a balloon pop in my lower abdomen, and this led me to think that I had a ruptured ovarian cyst, and so I had ultrasounds and scans and blood work done, and I had no free fluid, no debris from a ruptured cyst. I didn't have a UTI, which could have also caused that kind of pain if it had made it up into the ureter, and just... And so I ended up being referred to a gastroenterologist, and I have irritable bowel syndrome with partial paralysis of my colon in different spots. And those are the areas that tend to deal with constant pain. And when I got diagnosed with IBS, it had been apparent that I had probably actually been suffering from it for just about as long as I'd been suffering from my chronic migraine. So I had all of these compounding on each other, and my health was just continuing to deteriorate and get worse, and I was chronically exhausted and just drained, and my body was hurting all the time and aching. And so I finally typed up a medical history and went to a family doctor, a general practitioner. And he looked at my medical history, looked at all of the tests that I'd had done in the last year, because I've had a HIDA scan, I've had MRIs, I've had CTs, I've had ultrasounds, I've had blood work dozens of times over, and there's not really any major things that are indicating to things, but there's definitely something underlying that is causing everything. And so he gave me a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and fibromyalgia can actually cause chronic migraine and irritable bowel syndrome. And so I probably started dealing with fibromyalgia about the same time that I started dealing with my migraines and my IBS. And it took over a decade, almost a decade and a half, to get it diagnosed. And a lot of that had to do with seeing too many specialists and not someone who could see the whole picture. And so I'm very, very grateful to my general practitioner. But this has had a significant impact on my personal life, my family life, and relationships, finances, my ability to work. It's taken me following on YouTube and social media, Facebook, Instagram, following Smiley McGee and The Fry Life and several other social media influencers, and seeing things that my own family has been going through, for me to finally start sticking up and standing up for myself and saying, hey, I need to get better. I need to take the time to take care of me. And luckily I have amazing supportive family and a wonderful husband who stand by me and are there to take care of me and help me when I can't do anything for myself or for my husband or for my children. It's really important when you have chronic illnesses or rare diseases that you are your own advocate, because if you don't advocate for yourself, who is? Because you're the only one that truly knows what's going on with you. So unless you can advocate for yourself, you're not going to get the help you need. And I'm grateful that I'm finally taking the time and putting in the work and the effort to advocate for myself and get my health in a position where it needs to be, so that I can be feeling well enough to be a woman, a wife, a mother, and hopefully go back to work, because this has been significant enough that it has made me realize that working is not really feasible. And so just whether your disease is rare, whether it's chronic, whether it's visible, or whether it's hidden, be your own advocate. You are how you get the help you need.
Excuse the sound of the rain. We are most definitely driving, but I loved Kelsey's story. Watching it, tears just came to my eyes. And what she said about self-advocacy is so true. Being a chronic illness patient, rare disease patient, no one is really going to fight for you but yourself. Of course, there's doctors that have your best interest in heart, but you know your body, you know how you feel. You have to fight for your life and quality of life. And Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing that much needed story. I needed to hear that story before my rheumatology appointment today. Yeah, it's just, through these videos, it's amazing to see people's battles through rare disease and how we can all kind of relate in a similar struggle. And I just love it. Thank you again, Kelsey, for sharing your story, and all you battling rare disease or illness in general. Fight for yourself, fight for your health, fight for your quality of life. Know you are enough. You're more than enough, and always smile on.